Hey everybody, it's Clay Cheshire with Munitions Law Group again, back with another video, again relevant to licensees, FFLs. And what we're going to talk about today is the concept of a recall inspection. And a recall inspection, what it basically is if you are a licensee and you've had an inspection that has led to some sort of adverse action, for example, a warning conference or even a revocation. ATF has the right under the law to inspect a licensee once per year. I'd say statistically what you usually see is, a licensee will get inspected every 3 to 4 years. There are some licensees that have gone much longer without an inspection, some that have not been inspected since they obtained an FFL. But generally speaking, it's every 3 or 4 years. But a recall inspection is essentially a licensee that ATF has highlighted as needing a return visit, sooner than the typical turnaround time, sooner than every 3 to 4 years. And usually what will trigger this is you've had a revocation and you've gone to a hearing and ATF has allowed you to keep your FFL. And you've got some sort of a written settlement agreement, for example, that says that in exchange for keeping that license, you're going to agree to certain terms, like affirmative terms, obligations that you have to do in order to comply with the settlement agreement. We believe recall inspections are going to be a larger point of emphasis for ATF over the next few years. ATF's been hiring more IOIs. IOIs are the ones that do compliance audits. We know that there is some pressure from above to conduct more frequent inspections and to emphasize recall inspections. And what ATF's looking for with these recall inspections, a couple of things, right? So they're looking for repeat violations, because if they can find, so for example, if ATF conducted a compliance inspection in 2022 and found, 10 different types of violations, they come back in 2024 and they find 8 of those same 10 types of violations, those are repeat violations where they came in, they found them, you were educated about them, you obviously were made aware that they happened, had an opportunity to fix them, and for whatever reason, your fix, either you didn't fix them or your fix was not as effective as you thought it would be. Repeat violations make it easier for ATF to revoke a licensee that's been to a warning conference or to re-revoke a licensee that's been revoked in the past. If you've signed a settlement agreement, ATF is looking to see whether or not you've met the terms of the agreement. For example, terms like agreeing to conduct periodic internal audits or audits from third parties of your operations, of some of your records, conducting, regular inventories periodically, adopting and following new SOPs, agreeing to obtain a certain type of new compliance software, having some sort of affirmative notification obligation, like once you've met this term, you will send us a letter saying that you've met it. Those are the things that ATF is looking for if you've signed a settlement agreement. And, if you haven't met those terms, then it could essentially unwind your settlement. So what we tell people, and there's this tendency, unfortunately, we've had a lot of clients over the years. I've been doing this for almost 2 decades. I've had a lot of clients over the years that have been through the revocation process. And I think there's this tendency, because it's so stressful, that when it's over and you've prevailed, to exhale, right, and relax a little bit. And, that's dangerous. And what we tell people, and I think unfortunately sometimes it's hard for them to really do this. But we tell them, you have to, you cannot forget this happened, and you have to stay committed to the you have to maintain the same level of commitment for the next 3 years and beyond that you expressed during this hearing process. So you have to learn from it, right? And you have to say, I don't want to go through this again. So it's not the time to exhale. Also, it is a time to globally consider some other things you might want to do to better protect the asset, right? To better protect the entity. For example, is it a good time for you to add some new ownership to the entity? Bring in, if you've been thinking about, this becoming a family business, and you've got children that are old enough and responsible enough to run it, is now the time to bring them in. I guess I'd look at it as an opportunity to begin an exit strategy maybe early. So if you've got an exit strategy, I think after you get through the revocation process and you're facing a potential recall inspection, maybe it's time to make some changes there. And potentially, is it a good time for you to restructure your business? I mean, if you've got sort of a multifaceted business, is it a good time for you to restructure how you do it so that it can make it easier downstream or later on to execute on an exit strategy, or potentially sell off one asset, one part of the business? If you do that, one of the ancillary benefits is you generally, there'll be some circumstances where you need to get a new FFL. So because you may restructure it such that you've got a new entity, and that entity is going to end up purchasing the assets or merging up the assets from another entity that you own, and that may be a time to get a new FFL, which gives you, to some extent, a clean slate, and can possibly simplify your operation in terms of the records you're keeping and so forth. There are things you can do, in preparing for a potential recall inspection that will mitigate risk. And that's the time to do it. For example, let's get new software, right? If that's something you talked about and committed to do it and dive in. Create SOPs, do training, do internal audits, do inventories, do all the things that you said you were going to do. Learn from it, improve, make yourself hard to revoke in the future. Create a record of being committed and proactive, acting in good faith, and just making it hard to for someone to argue that you are violating laws willfully or carelessly or recklessly. Again, if you ever have any questions, you can always contact us at munitionsgroup.com. There's the website right there. You can call the office, email us, send us a comment on the YouTube video, whatever works best for you. But I hope this is helpful for some of you, and have a great day.